Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. So the title has been already mentioned. I would like to thank Margaret and Jorge for inspiring to give this talk. It's been pending for a while, and then it came at a time like we are all busy with RTB reporting, and so Rosemary was really worried whether we could make it. But eventually, yes, we are here. So as per the format, I will try to give a quick overview about the Seed Tracker tool, and then we can spend some time mainly discussing how this tool can be used for other crops, and that is the question Margaret has asked. So I indicated the team members who are associated with the development as well as promoting this um, the tool in Nigeria. So this is a very simple outline. Just to give a kind of challenge, what kind of questions we are trying to address, or the bottlenecks that we are trying to resolve through Seed Tracker, and how this Seed Tracker integrates the seed value chain, what are the basic functionalities of this program, and the piloting work that we are doing through Basics project for cassava seed systems in Nigeria, and then the prospects for RTBs and the conclusions. So one of the major questions that we keep asking is, most seed in sub-Saharan Africa is from informal seed sector and the quality is low and unknown. So why? What is the reason for that? Is it something very intentional that the farmers want to produce in an informal sector with low quality seed, or something that is happening naturally? The answers are very obvious. We are all in this field, so we know. Just as a kind of a quick reminder, the main reason is that where there are very few professional seed producers, and there is very little awareness about regulations and quality management systems among the informal seed producers. I don't think anybody is intentionally producing low quality seed. And then there is an insufficient manpower especially among the regulators who are responsible for overseeing the quality seed production. So there are a number of constraints which prevent them to strengthen the seed systems in the respective nations. And then many seed producers who are aware of the system feel the system is too cumbersome and bureaucratic and also expensive to adopt for the routine seed production. So to summarize, basically there are four elements. Number one, there is a low awareness about the quality management system, and there's sufficient lack of information among the seed producers. There is an issue of drudgery and the cost. And there are two other important questions that is also very frequently asked: low adoption of improved varieties, low varietal turnaround rate. And again, the answers are very obvious. Lack of knowledge about improved varieties. Okay, there are a lot of varieties being released, but the end users, do they know about these varieties? In case if they know about these varieties, do they have access to source seed? There are a lot of buyers. The buyers are unaware of this, and they don't have source seed to start producing seed of the improved varieties. And then for the seed producers and the breeders, there is a limited knowledge and whereabouts of who is producing seed. In case if we know where they are located, it's much easy to target the delivery of the initial stock of seeds to initiate the seed production. So once again, it all boils down to low awareness and lack of information. So if we go on asking these kind of questions, lack of awareness and lack of information keep coming despite so much of work being done. Without going into too many details why the ongoing efforts are not so effective, we will try to imagine a scenario where availability of a system that informs readily about the released crop varieties and indicates location of seed availability. So it tells both what type of varieties are there and where the seed is available to anybody. Okay, and a simple option for seed producers who are out there in whatever system you call informal or formal to register seed fields that would automatically fits into the country regulations, communicate with the regulators. A platform for breeders, producers or traders to readily find seed producers, buyers, and sellers. So this is a kind of a platform where each stakeholder can identify the next user or partner to promote their activities or products. And also a simple database for ready access to data on quantities of seed being produced, locations of seed being produced by crop, variety, geography, availability date. And also for producers who can readily get expert access for advisory on agronomy, plant health, or any other subjects on demand. So basically, we are talking about one-stop solution for addressing a complex issues here. And that's exactly what CTracker does. It addresses each and every of those questions that I have presented there. Basically, this was the first program, to my knowledge, where we have used a web app application to integrate seed value chain to enhance quality seed production and to provide market access to the seed producers so that they can meet their full potential. So in essence, the inbuilt algorithms of this program connects all key stakeholders from seed producers with the regulators and traders and extension services. When I say extension service, that includes researchers and everybody, input suppliers and everybody we think are essential to make the seed value chain effective. So it's an integrated suite that offers digital data collection tools that can be used on any internet-enabled device. So we don't have to look for any other devices. Once we start using this, it has all that is needed to start using it. It provides a very easy web interface so that the information can be presented for the user consumption in a customized manner. It also enables customized personal or institutional accounts. So all data entry and access goes through is only for the authorized users. And it has a database that integrates all information inputted by the various users, and it will automatically sequester or organize information in such a way and provides packets of information necessary for each of the stakeholders. And it also has an inbuilt analytic features for automatic data analysis as per the parameters that we have pre-programmed. So another feature of this is it automatically connects with the next value chain depending on the program. For example, for seed producers, as soon as the information they input it would automatically create an alert to the regulators through SMS or email informing that somebody has inputted information and requiring attention. Likewise, a similar connection can also be created to the buyers who will be looking for the seed information. So although it has several features, the modular functionality of the system would allow to pick and choose. For example, this program can be used by a company who is not interested with the regulatory aspect. They just want to use it as an inventory management system. That is possible. So we can actually choose what functionalities we want, and we can only focus on that one. And ultimately, all these functions can be customizable to the user needs, so it's highly flexible. And this program can be used and tailorable to all crops and countries. So briefly about the number of features that CTracker has. As I mentioned, it can be used from mobile phone, tablets, or a computer. As soon as information is inputted, the data get uploaded into the database sitting in the cloud server. The same device can be used for inputting information and access data. So it has inbuilt system. It automatically identifies the geolocation from where the submission is being done. It creates maps. The system has place for providing digital information of all the released crop varieties, along with the beneficial features which farmers were interested to know. It has since all information is reposited in one place, it becomes a very easy inventory to understand the production, how much seed is being produced, what is the demand, how much, what is the stock available, what has been dispensed, depending on the way we want to organize information. It's an online directory of all stakeholders. It is at one place we can get access to all types of seed producers, regulators, extension officers, researchers, etc. It provides access for the seed quality certifieds to get data and perform seed certification as per the regulation. So one of the most important features is traceability across generations and years. This is a very unique feature. Every data that is entered or the seed field that is registered at the beginning the system will automatically generate a very unique ID that becomes a barcode. As long as that barcode is inputted in the next generation as a source seed, and for subsequent generation as a source seed, we could trace back. So that way we can actually see over the generations how a seed originating from one particular field is being disseminated over the generations. So we basically can see the seed increase over time and space. And this app can also integrate with other applications. For example, the Nuru app that James and colleagues are working with the Plant Village project. There can be interoperability that and the linkages can be created as an integrated feature or a tag-along feature. And there is another app that is also coming, agronomy decision support, which provides information on the fertilizer to be used, the type of fertilizer to be in quantities, etc. So there is an option here that would enable to establish links with other useful applications. And it has the feature that would enable producers to sell their product, likewise for buyers to access producers to acquire products. The inbuilt analytic features will create the graphical reports that can be readily downloaded and analyzed to assess the trends over the period of time. And these features will give it forms a good system, especially for monitoring and evaluation officers, because in one database all information is there. They don't have to pursue additional activities. They can go into the system and then see who is producing seed, where, and whether it is meeting the targets. So it makes it very easy. And the data archive, every record that is stored in the system, since it has security features and then what we call permissions by user category. Once information is inputted, only authorized users can edit in case if there is a need to change information at subsequent date. And only authorized person can actually delete a record. So that way the information that is inputted here is safe and reliable. And it's a knowledge bank. We can add a lot of information that would be useful for different stakeholders. So in terms of features and applications, how does it help seed producer? A seed producer can input with a single form. He can input the site details and also update crop management and also the yields that he is getting. So the forms that has been designed automatically captures all the steps that we think are essential. And likewise for regulators, all the mandatory features necessary for seed certification, right from the registration, the costing, and the pest and disease thresholds, all can be incorporated. And they can also provide barcoded tags to enable e-certification. And these barcoded tags, once again, generated from the unique IDs that are generated by the system as soon as the information about the seed field is recorded in the system. And for the trader, since all the information is readily available on the website, they can readily access the seed producers and they can negotiate purchases. So it's a big data. It's a big data of various users, and it provides all the crop information, the availability, all that at one place. Since it is reposited, it can be accessed and utilized in as per the user-defined fashion. So this database also helps in terms of creating annual inventory of the amount of type of seed produced, and if necessary with price, And we can also add cost of the seed, so we can also compare uh, the expenditure for seed production, whether the cost is going high over the period or going low, and where costs are increasing, etc. All can be tracked. And I already mentioned about the M&D tool, especially for the governments to check the demand versus the production. They can identify gaps very readily, even at the beginning of the seed season, so that they can plan contingency measures. All the information that we input into the database is secured. Only authorized users can see. So it is not open access, because one of the important thing both for regulators as well as the traders is the secrecy, because they don't want to disclose their varieties, where they're producing seed or how much they're producing to their competitors. So they would like to keep information confidential. And also, as per the existing law, the regulators are not supposed to disclose identities of the seed producer, varieties, etc. They can keep in their record, but when they disclose public information, it is anonymized. So the database has a similar features. Only accessed people can access this information. Authorized people can access information, and depending on the user permissions, if I'm a user one, I can only, when I log in, I can only see my data. I cannot access anybody else's information. If another user, for example, regulator, he has been authorized to see everybody's information, so he can see all the data that is being inputted. And then, as a regulator, he is bound by the rules of the organization not to share private information. So that way, the data inputted here is secure. We as a user can decide which information can go into the public domain, and this is where the web interface will come into the play, and we only will facilitate open access information through this website. All other information remains confidential. So basically it is one database. It all starts with producer. As soon as a producer inputs information, the system will automatically align information into three categories. The information necessary for seed inventory, that is basically seed inventory requires only crop, variety, the area and the quantities. Whereas a regulator requires all the data, including where the seed is being produced, the history of the field, etc. And for the market, it's the same. The most essential details they'll be requiring is variety, the quantity, and when it is available. So on the other side, a regulator can access all this information. So the buyer can get information about the varieties that are there for trading.
I've lost Lava's sound. Lava, can you hear me?
I've also lost him. Hi, Margaret.
I think we've lost you, Lava. I think everyone has lost you, the sound. Okay, I think the problem is at Lava's side. Just give us a couple of minutes before we contact them. Lava, if you can hear us, can you send a chat message? Meanwhile, everyone can be putting their questions into the chat box, please.
Compliance with the data legislation, which is visible to all. Anybody can actually type seedtracker.org /cassava. You can see this information. There's a map because there are a lot of seed fields. So you can actually zoom in to track into the individual sites as indicated here. And once you click on that one, it automatically displays the seed producer information, variety information, the date planted, when it will be available, all that stuff. And we put this in open access because we subscribe to open data access of the BMGF. And the users also tick the box when they input information that they are aware of this information. So we digitized all the cassava varieties that were released in Nigeria, and we specifically provided connection to those varieties that the project is promoted. So when they input information, they can actually choose which variety they're actually planting in the field. So this information is also open access. You can readily check on this website. It indicates the yield that is achievable, that can get from particular variety, the suitability for agroecologies, and the basic characters of the variety, which is also very useful for the regulators when they do quality checks in the field. So we basically digitized all the steps as per the Nigerian seed regulation, right from the field preparation to distribution. What are the regulations that are in the country? So we tailored the system. And one of the major problem here, I put in question mark here, is the bagging and labeling. Cassava being a bulky crop, the traditional bagging and labeling process doesn't occur. And this is one of the challenges that we don't have very ready solution. And this applies for all the vegetatively propagated crops. But for yam, we have found a solution because with the mini tubers, we are now creating a 25 kilo bags with a barcode that can readily be carryable. But for cassava stems, which is not easy, but with SH and other technologies, the barcoding is possible. Anyway, I don't want to digress into that area in this presentation. So we created a workflow that would automatically facilitate the process that I explained before. It all starts, as I mentioned, with the seed producer, the form 1, and this is the only form a seed producer has to fill. It will automatically trigger an alert to the regulator, and he would automatically perform. And once they finish the process, and if there is a compliance, once the go is given, the seed will have a registration number. And there is an optional form for the seed producer to input other details on the crop management, etc., so that he can track the costs and the management activities. And likewise, seed inspectors have their own digital form for performing the seed inspections. That covers right from the pre-planting inspection, inspection at the cropping stage, harvesting, and the barcoding of the seed stock. So it basically happens in a kind of 3 steps stretch across the full cropping period. We also looked at the time it takes. No intervention would take more than 15 minutes. Okay, this is a complex period, so you can actually sit in office. When you start your registration, you can do it in an office. Or people in the field can do it. The inspectors can actually perform the inspection right from their office, and they can verify the field status based on the photos that were uploaded in real time. The photos that is uploaded in the system is geotagged with the timestamp so that they can authenticate. In case when they do inspection, if there is a non-compliance, they can always reject the field. So the system will automatically reduce the need for the travel costs and also reduce the costs that are associated with registration and certification. So this is the database. Right now, for the basics field, we have 508 records of individual feeds starting from 2016. So this dashboard will record the entries and everything. So I, being as a super user, I can see everybody's information. If I am an individual user, I only will have an access to my data. I can't see any other information here. And another advantage is the data can be downloaded in different forms. So you can download in different formats in case if you want to do meta-analysis. We could also access individual records right from the dashboard and visualize maps, and we can also make inquiries right from the dots that are present in the map. We don't have to open the separate records through the table. We can do that operations right from the map here, as I showed. So we can just move the cursor, it will automatically bring the information. We can download these individual files in case if necessary for finding purpose. The map can also do the terrain kind of situation, which is very useful, especially for the inspectors in case if they want to find the road network to access fields, this is something that's very handy for them. So I mentioned about the analytic features. So it provides data in a graphical form and whatever the way we want as per the predefined settings. So here is an information where all the data is being presented by class of seed in terms of percentages and the units of each field. Okay, there is a breeder seed, foundation seed, and a commercial seed. How many units per year? So, for example, for commercial seed in 2017 we had 183 units, whereas in 2018 it has reduced to 71 fields. So there are a lot of ways we can check the information. We can also look the information by variety to see how many certified fields are producing each variety. For example, TME 419 is the most popular variety being grown in 149 uh, field units. And we can also check the same information by percentages, etc. We could also look this information how by year this various classes of seed or variety is expanding. All right. Coming to the front end of this information, all that I showed is back end. That is all by login access. Okay, how are we going to get this information to the website, which is publicly accessed? So we have created this connection from the database to the website. So only the desired information will come to the open access. We can readily see this. And the key thing, why we created this is where people can access and come to know where the particular seed producers are available and what kind of seed variety they are producing and quantities, etc. So that in case if somebody is interested to procure, they can actually check who is being produced, what variety they are producing, and they can place order online. So once you place order in online form, this order form automatically extracts user information. There is no need to fill. So it will readily trigger an SMS alert and an email that somebody is looking for seed. Alternatively, people can also use WhatsApp which is also very commonly used these days. We have not deliberately created cash transactions on our website. This is because any cash transactions require, as per the government regulation, it should be registered as a commercial entity. Since IATA is not that, we have not done it. Otherwise, cash transaction is also possible. So one of the things that happened was the Nigerian Agriculture Quarantine Services, during the piloting phase, they decided the system is very useful for the country and they wanted to adopt this as a national seed platform. And so in a way, this is going to now transform all the paper-based paper-based system to this digital system. So the work is already ongoing in terms of creating the procedures, legislation, etc., to support the digital certification. So I can tell you today that in 2019, the NASC has already stopped ordering paper labels. That itself is a huge saving for the National Seed Council. So they already piloted the system. Official announcement has been made for e-certification of cassava in Southwest region. And the idea is by end of this year, this platform is going to be available for all certifiable crops in Nigeria. So, in essence, how the seed tracker is helping in terms of creating value. It is making this whole seed compliance to seed regulations and seed certification easy. And it is reducing the cost and the adoption of the formal seed production easy for seed producers. It is simplifying the seed field registration and certification, both in terms of time and cost. It is enabling real-time tracking, both for checking the status and communications, and real-time access to data on seed production by crop variety, seed type, and also zone. Trend forecasting. Right at the beginning, one can check is the seed being produced is enough for forward planning. So CST has the potential to mainstream national seed system, and then this particular potential has been already realized in Nigeria. And as I mentioned, there is a new incentive being created to use this seed tracker as a way to mainstream seed producers. Soon there will be an announcement where the Nigerian Agriculture Seed Council is going to encourage all the seed producers to register on the seed tracker so that they can know who are all the players that are out there producing seeds so that they can be trained. This is not just to get the compliance and certification. This is to make them understand what are the rules, what are the regulations, and what are the best practices to produce quality seed. And there is going to be a time-bound system that will give them um, certain time to evolve from the so-called informal seed producer into a formal seed producer. So this all looks simple and easy, but in terms of promotion, it was not that straightforward. And what are the main challenges for this so-called simple to easy to use tool? Change. People have get used to doing things in certain way, and to move into this new system, even though it is very simple and people have been familiar with using smartphones, but to adopt this, it there is a little bit of lethargy at the beginning. We have seen it takes quite a bit of effort to build the momentum. Once they get used to and sense the ease of operation, then automatically the transformation become easy. But the initial inertia is something which is very important to break, and that requires a lot of training and advocacy and convincing. And there is also issue on worries of transparency and accountability, especially among regulators, because right now nobody knows how the seed certification is being done because there is no document available, and it takes nearly 1.5 years to actually do the audit check on some of the certifications done. With this system, with the real-time information coming in, there is no hiding behind. So this is some this is also one of the reasons for slow adoption at the beginning. And then there is no legislation for digital systems. Regulators cannot do anything which is not in the rule of law, and the law says use the paper system, and there has to be paper tag, etc. So there has to be a policy change, and this is something that we are working in Nigeria, so that the system will become formal. And then low IT infrastructure among regulators. So, for example, NASC has an office, they have all the systems, but they don't have the very basic IT infrastructure and manpower to manage this simple system. So this is something that requires an investment. Whereas from the producer side, hardly there is any investment to adopt this technology. All they need is a smartphone. So it's a very versatile platform. I just put some of the ongoing projects that we are currently using Seed Tracker platform to tailor. I already gave an example of cassava seed tracker. Yam seed tracker is something which has been already designed and will be piloted in March this year in Accra through ISWA project. And we also developed a Go Seed tracker which is due for out as a Go Seed inventory. So this is a platform which is tailored for all multiple crops which IATA Go Seed is going to be involving. That includes soybean, cowpea, rice, maize, cassava, yam, and banana. Then we also use this same platform, cassava peel tracker. There are peel producers who want to benefit from the similar real-time information for trading purpose. We have set this up, and this is funded by the RTB. And currently we are working on Nigerian seed tracker to enable transformation of the cassava seed tracker into a kind of national platform for e-certification. And recently James piloted cassava seed tracker in Tanzania through the BEST project. And we are also now working with the MRAPA to create a seed tracker for the cassava seed systems in Brazil. And the most advanced development is TAT cassava seed tracker. This is the TAT program funded by Africa Development Bank. They have a cassava program operating in 8 countries. They want to use the similar platform, not only just for seed certification, but also for the processed products. And this is something that now we are developing a blueprint. So,
Robert,
what are the prospects?
Wrapping it up now, please?
Yes.
Yes,
yes.
thank you.
So what are the prospects for other crops if you had to adopt seed tracker? The first and the foremost thing is we need to tailor this operations because every crop and every situation is different. Okay, so there is certain tailoring that need to be done, and also requires a seed flow map depending on the operations that are envisaged by the user, so that we can build in the algorithms to connect to the one user to the next user. And the regulatory workflow, every country, the basic frameworks are same, but the way this is operationalized are different in different countries. So we need to understand that. And then the quality standards for each of these crops. So based on these three inputs, then there will be a development stage that usually range anywhere between 4 weeks to 8 weeks. It all depends on the complexity and the number of features we are going to tamper and tailor with. And then the tech transfer. And next, the final step is training users and managers, which in our experience realize that just one training is enough to adopt the system. And it is very essential for the users to have a data management plan, which is very critical when you have going to have this kind of large database. And risk management strategy and technical backstopping. Anything to do with digital systems, we need to be very, things can crash if we don't manage the standard practices. So it is very important to have a good strategy. So many of you are aware of this, that Seed Tracker was among the 12 finalists of the Google Impact Challenge Nigeria, where they have identified 12 technologies based on their potential to create economic opportunities in the local communities. We are very fortunate and privileged to be among the 12, although we were not among the winners to double the fund, but as the finalist, we have received $1.5 thousand to further improve this program. So we are at the stage where we are going to develop a program to benefit from this Google fund to further improvise seed tracker plan. So this is the team that are involved in the development and promoters. So Bosayo, Trushar, Turi are the people who helped with the back end of the system. Mercy, Peter, Norbert, James, Kathy, these are all the people who are championing this cause. Of course, Hemant and all the basics people. I have not put everybody's picture here. And the Jim Scott, who is our former IT head, has been very instrumental in terms of setting the basic infrastructure that was necessary to implement this program way back in 2016-17. So with that, I would like to thank Margaret, Jorge, and Rosemary, and Holly for enabling this webinar. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Lava. That's great. And I think we would all like to congratulate you on the Google Impact Challenge being in the winning group, shall we say. So that's great. So there are a lot of questions coming in on the chat. Lava, can you see the chat?
Let me close the presentation.
Okay, so
yeah.
I think Jorge, you were the first one. Do you want to put your question, and then James will follow with your questions. So Jorge, over to you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Lava. Really nice presentation. So my question is related to this scaling readiness concept that we are also developing in RTB. So it's a very simple question, but how ready is this technology to be used in other crops and regions? I think you started to answer that question at the end of your presentation, but can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
It is very ready. Okay. It is ready to go. The only requirement is that, as I mentioned, this is not a tool. It is that you can just download and start using, like Skype. Right? This tool requires tailoring. If it is, for example, if there is a system very similar to Nigeria elsewhere for cassava, we can do it transfer within 1 week. If it is something sweet potato that requires change because it's a completely different crop, then we need to work on this, the internal programming to suit it for. So this is the only thing. Otherwise, the technology has been tested for the robustness, the usability, and all that thing. So it is ready to go.
Okay, perhaps I can come in there, Lava, because on our scaling readiness tools, we talk about the technology readiness, which I think, as you're saying, is ready.
Mm-hmm.
To what extent has the use of Seed Tracker moved out of the control of IITA?
Yeah, I would say basics because that's what we are promoting. Um, this tool would go out of the basics provided we make it the public access. Right now, the way we have set up, all the users are through the basics account. So if there are people who wanted to register, there is a bottleneck because we are not entertaining that. And this is where we are working with NASC because that's where the national platform is going to be. So the NASC, once NASC confirms that this is the only way for the field registration, and then it's going to be for all the producers. They just have to use the tool. And in terms of going out of basics, so in Tanzania, the best project, they are going to promote this one. Once again, there is a need for the project to hold it and create awareness. Then it can automatically roll. Okay.
Okay, so I mean, I
Maybe Margaret, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah, so this, just to add what Lava said, there was a big issue in Tanzania with basically the acceptance of the approach by the government. And so we spent a lot of time negotiating with the Tanzania Official Seed Certification Institute, and with what they have is something called the e-government agency, which regulates the use application of ICT for Tanzanian government data. And because we negotiated with them from the beginning and said, essentially this is a tool that we're hoping is going to be for the benefit of Tanzania and Tanzanians, we've been able to get their confidence. And now, so Bustola from Lava's team came over and worked with the Toski team, and it's now on the Toski website. It's still being housed on an IITA server, but in time that's going to be transferred. And so when it's transferred, it will be under the sole control of Toski. But because we've kind of walked through the process with Toski, and we've made it very clear that we're hoping certainly the certification component is going to be a tool that will be ultimately owned by the government, the Seed Certification Institute. We've made good progress. So it's right there on the Toski website right now. So it's ready to be used. What we're doing right now is just buying a core set of tablets and phones so that key certification staff within Toski can actually get out there into the field and start to use Seed Tracker for doing seed certification.
To add on to you, thanks, James. That's very useful intervention. Yeah, since the way we are doing this, seed production is a regulatory business. Therefore, we had to go along with the regulator. Regulator buy-in is important. And this is something we are readily securing without any hesitation. If there are, like as James mentioned, if at all there are issues, it is issues with the way the governments are set up. So we need to mold this program to fit into their thing. This is something, because of the flexibility, we can do it. But once we make this platform open for people to register and sell the products, then there will be more people registering. And that concept is right now, we are not using right now because all the seed that are being produced is through the regulatory approach. But on the TAT platform, there is a different way we are going to use it. TAT is going to set up this platform for the processors and other product producers to register and market their products. So this is where now we'll have a platform where we can actually track and see how many people are going to get attracted to the features that are on this, because this is the voluntary registration. As long as people comply with the quality parameters set by the TAT, anybody can register. So
Okay.
it has different applications. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lava. there's a lot more questions. So, James, I'm going to skip you. And Sarah, are you there? Can you ask your question? Because I think it's also quite relevant. Sarah? I'll ask your question. So Sarah's question is, so farmers must be able to read and write to use the seed tracker. How will farmers who can't do so be helped to use the tracker? I think I heard you say he will just need a smartphone.
Yes. Hello?
So
Yes,
they will
go
also
ahead.
need to have a smartphone and be able to input this information from the smartphone.
Yeah. So one of the things now we'll be working is basic literacy is important, IT literacy. And the only expertise that is required, if somebody can use WhatsApp, they can use C-Tracker. It is as simple as that. We are also now trying to tap with this Google team to make this information access as well as the farmer use aspect much more simple through iconographs. So this will be the work in progress for the next 1 year to see without people typing, we can just use iconographics to provide information. So that is something that we'll be specifically using the Google Fund to uplift this program.
Okay. So time's running out. I'm going to ask Srini to choose one of his questions. And then there's a question from Steve and one from Kwame. So please be quick. Let's have the 3 questions and then let Lava respond. Thank you.
Hi, Lava. This is Srini from Kampala.
Hi, Srini.
Hi. I just wondering about this, how cost effective this for people to use, because nowadays, as you know, that everybody is getting into ICT, into agriculture. So one of the app is started already on track is called CGIAR by CIMIT. So I'm not sure, like, it is going to be more competitive in the market, and I'd like to hear how you're going to address that and how it is going to be cost effective for others to utilize this.
Okay, the cost effectiveness depend on who are you referring to. For example, if it is a user, as I mentioned, user has nothing, they don't have to pay for anything right now. Okay, they just have to start using the program. But if you are going to enable this program for any particular situation, for example, let's say in Uganda you want to use seed tracker for seed certification, then there will be cost involved with development to convert this program to fit Ugandan situation. And this cost, in the way we estimated for Tanzania, without getting an infrastructure, for less than 10,000 we can achieve this, $10,000. CGIAR is work in progress. It is not a finished product, and I have seen that one because it has won the big data competition this year, I guess, in Nairobi. So it is very similar to, in terms of functionalities and everything, it is very similar to Seed Tracker.
Okay. I have to cut the question short, but I do suggest we continue an online discussion afterwards. So, Steve, I think that you are next, then Kwame, and then with a question from Jacob here.
Yeah, thank you very much for the fantastic presentation. Just like to know, if resources were limited, where in the seed chain would you focus? Would you focus in the beginning with outgrowers, or would you focus more on early generation seed, breeder seed, foundation seed? Thank you.
It actually, it is the same system for all the different seed producers. So, for instance, if you are going to work in a country where the legislation is very weak and it's all going to be managed by a project in terms of mainstreaming seed producers, then we just focus on the informal seed producers, farmer growers, so that they can benefit from the application, and they can improve their seed production quality as well as market outreach. Considering that 90% or more, majority of the seed producers are at that level, and that's where I would focus, so that they get the visibility, they get the market access, and they can improve the quality seed.
Okay, so Kwame, can you put your question quickly, please?
Okay, thank you. On slide 29, I see that Lava presented something which seems to me to be like different versions of the seed tracker. There's the Go seed tracker, cassava, the cassava seed tracker which you presented, yam and tart cassava seed tracker.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is there a way we can have a single platform? For instance, if it's, let's say Tanzania, we have a single platform where we have all the RTD crops instead of having different versions of the seed tracker for the different crops. Because if a seed producer is producing more than one crop, I think it would be maybe more difficult for him or her to register different versions.
Yes, this is a very good question. It is a single platform, mind that. It's all single platform, and there are, for instance, yam and cassava seed tracker. NASC is not going to have different names. They are just going to have just seed tracker, Nigerian seed tracker. They don't worry whether it is yam or cassava. We have just put this because this is how we started through different projects. And for instance, the seed tracker for Embrapa, it is so specific to Brazilian situation. There is no point in putting them in a single platform. It just have to be accessible to the Embrapa and the Brazilian people. So for that reason, these partitions are important. So sometimes it can be independent. If it is interrelated, then they can all be hosted on the same platform. For instance, Go Seed Tracker it is not accessible to all of us. It is just accessible only to the IATA Go Seed staff. Okay, it's a private, literally it's a private. I have put it here because I just want to show this is one of the projects that are ongoing, which is building on the Seed Tracker platform.
Okay, so I'm going to pass the last question to Jacob Chiptawa here, who's with us at Ewe.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is on the system. You've said that every user can log in and request what he wants. Let's say for the farmers, they can request certified seed from the producers. Now, my question is, can the farmer still log in and give feedback to the producer or to the regulator on the kind of seed that they've received from the producer?
And that's a very good question. We have not enabled that feature on the feedback, but on the TAT seed cassava tracker that we are developing, we are using product rating. So when people buy, they can actually rate and they can put comments. So this is a bit like more like an e-commerce platform. So that feature is going to be appearing there. Whereas in this particular one, we have not put that. But there is always contact address available. They can contact regulators to communicate on the particular seed producer, because if they have any complaint or any concern, they can always communicate. And you can actually verify this on if you go to our website, which is accessible to all.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for your questions. Obviously, there are many questions coming in, and we will circulate the presentation and the recording. And what I'd like to suggest is that we continue the discussion through an online group, because I think there's a lot of interest in this. So I think it's very exciting to have one integrated platform that covers both a seed inventory and the regulatory certification process, as well as acting as a market and way to link the different stakeholders in the seed value chain. And I think it will be great to learn more about how it is rolled out in Tanzania and how we can learn from that. And the last person who put a question, Jacob, is from Kefas here in Kenya, and so perhaps there's also opportunities there as well. So that we finish on time, I'd just like to say thank you very much again to Lava. Thank you to Rosemary for getting the information out and the webinar set up, and thank you to everyone. I think at my last count we have around 30 people, so I think there's a lot of interest in this and that we will continue the...
Okay, thank you very much everybody. Thank you, Margaret and Rosemary, for organizing this.